I suppose the biggest thing is really trust in it doesn't matter if it's the band, the photographer, the video man, the hotel. Trust those people, especially if they've been doing it with years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look, if you have a hotel manager and she says to you, oh, I'm only here 2 weeks, well, maybe then you probably need to have a chat with that person. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But if you're dealing with somebody that's been in a hotel, or you're dealing with a photographer and they're at it with 20 years, do you know, look, they've been there, done that. If you're doing using a photographer and you're getting married in, you know, Fernhill or Vienna Woods, or, you know, places that are doing a couple of hundred weddings every year, and that photographer's probably down in them places 20 or 30 times in the year, they're going to know exactly the best spots. They're going to know the exact flower that comes out at the exact time, because they're going to know exactly the places to be. So I would say, you know, put trust in the people that you're booking.
Welcome to the Weddings.ie podcast. If you are getting married and looking for the very best wedding suppliers and venues in Ireland, check out Weddings.ie. We also host a massive wedding festival called Wedfest, where you can get to chat to these wedding suppliers and venues in person. You can find out more about up and coming events at Weddings.ie.
How's Derek? How are you keeping?
I'm very good, Justin, and you?
Very good, very good. So
That's good.
Here, we'll jump straight in. How did you get into the wedding game? How did it all start?
Perfect, Justin. Well, when I was very young, I started off in music, say at 11 years of age. But I suppose my sister had a severely autistic son, and I suppose we started to cut back with Crystal Swing dates at that time then, and I started to move into my own one-man band stuff. And I suppose it just progressed from there. I was doing a lot of one-man, then I moved to two-man, then I started dabbling in the wedding stuff then with different members and band fellas and that kind of stuff. But last year I made the conscious decision to go basically full-time at it. So I do very, very little solo work now. I do maybe 1 gig a week in the city, and that's really just to promote myself to the younger audiences, that they'll be the next and up and coming to see us. So I do like the college student nights out above in JJ Walsh's in Cork on a Thursday. But other than that, it's really all full band stuff at this stage. There's a small bit of two-piece stuff still in, that was in for this year, that I'm just kind of doing, I suppose, because they were in from last year. But other than that, it's all full band stuff because we're just kind of very, very busy at the weddings. So it's all good.
Yeah. Take us back early days. Like, tell us about the whole history of Crystal Swing, where it all started, what it was, what happened. Like, tell me all
Okay,
about
so
that. Fierce interesting.
perfect. So when I was a small boy, when I was around 9 or 10, my mother would have always been playing music. She would have always been doing little bits and pieces, but just at a local level, doing different like local concerts, and she would have done a good bit of acting, all right, actually, as well. But again, just locally, and drama festivals and that kind of stuff. So, but she was always involved in stage, or she was involved in choirs, and she was always out and about. But she always would have loved to have went out performing in a band. And when she was younger, she got 2 offers to join 2 different bands. One was a band they would have been doing all, like, say, I suppose they'd have been doing a lot of the dance venues and that kind of stuff long ago. More like the poppy side of things, probably more than the country side of things. And then she got offered to join a wedding band as well. But her parents, I suppose, my mum is from the countryside. Her parents were farming, living out in the middle of nowhere. So I suppose, you know, it would have been more sheltered. And I suppose they felt, you know, a young girl going off touring in a van with 4 or 5 different fellas, that it wasn't the life that they probably wanted for their daughter, you know. So
Yeah.
my mum didn't take up on the opportunities. No, because she didn't hold it against her parents. I think she can totally see why her parents would have had concerns as well about it, you know. Because I suppose it wasn't and especially back then, it wouldn't have been the done deal thing. There was very few women going off doing that kind of a lifestyle. So anyway, she didn't do it at that time, and she went away performing just locally at different things. But anyway, years later, my father bought her a keyboard that had drum beats and that kind of stuff in it, and she was rehearsing at home. And next thing, of course, she bought a speaker, and then she bought a microphone, and one thing led to another. She said it to 1 or 2 of the local bars around here, would they take her, and sure, one gig led to another, and then she moved
Yeah.
into some of the dance venues herself. The gigs started to get better. And when I was 11, I would have went out and started singing a few songs. You know, she'd bring me up and I'd do 2 or 3 songs and I'd sit down. But at 14 years of age, then I went at it full time with her.
Yeah.
I was actually from 14 years of age on. I was out definitely 3 nights, if not 4 or 5 nights. Some nights. I remember we used to do a gig up in Kilkenny, like when I was maybe 14, 15, and we used to do a gig in Kilkenny of a midweek night, and I'd go into school again the following morning, and it just became life, and that was it. I
Jeepers.
just gigged. I
Yeah.
gigged all my life. But then my sister got married, and she had a severely autistic son, and my father got Parkinson's. So things started to kind of change, I suppose, for Crystal Swing.
Mhm.
I started doing a little bit of one-man stuff, but I was working as well, and I kind of wanted to go working for a few years. And in some ways, I say it was probably the best thing I ever done, because I started to grow up a little bit then. Because I suppose all
Yeah.
along before that, my mother would have been organising everything, all the dates. I literally would just turn up, do the job, and come home. And I don't know. I suppose you don't really. I just stayed in that rut, and I wasn't growing up at all. So
Yeah.
once I started to go out on my own, and when working, doing the gigs on myself, I suppose I started to eventually start to
Get
maybe
all
start getting a bit bigger.
the
Like, so
actual background stuff. Like the thing, it's just not the whole gigging. There's the organizing, the emails, the phone calls,
absolutely.
all the
Yeah.
other obstacles behind the scenes that nobody really sees. Yeah.
Exactly. Sometimes I wonder, were emails the worst thing that were ever brought around? Because I remember at the start, like when my mother would have been out, and when we were 14 or 15 too, we would have been getting, we would have been doing weddings and that kind of stuff. It would have been just more kind of smaller weddings, because we were only a 2-piece at that time. But I remember, like, you get the phone call, you talked around what you'd done, and maybe somebody might say they might get a price off somebody else, but the majority of the time, if they were ringing, they were just going to book you. Whereas now with emails,
Yeah.
it could be some brides, it could be 2 or 3 emails across, and others it could be 30 or 40.
Yeah, I know.
Nothing beats a phone call, as I always say. Pick up the phone and you'll get it all discussed in one go.
Yeah, nice and easy. I know
Nice
this
and
from
easy.
like working myself as a booking agent. Like I do all the emailing and phone calls. For one wedding, there could be there has been instances of 50, 60 emails back and forward. And if you think of the time, there are at least 10 minutes of email. You're sitting down to do them. It's
That's it.
it's a
Yeah,
week's worth of work just for one gig.
for one gig, yeah, exactly. Well,
It's
I,
mad.
I, if you sometimes if a person's going to go with you or not. You nearly know it from the word go, and then you probably know this as well. Like there was a fellow there. He messaged me one day about um, uh, a wedding or whatever. So I said, yeah, if you want to send me on your details. So he sent me over his details, and he said, sure, if you want to give me a call, that's my number as well. So I rang him, and I emailed over the stuff at the very same time. Like, I rang him. And I said to him, I just sent over the stuff. And so I asked him the date, and he asked me just to check it. So I checked it, and we were free. And it's for Fernhill next year, actually, in Clonakilty. And he just said, yeah, no, that's grand. Look, yeah, we'll just go with that. Yeah, I'm happy with it. It's just
Yeah.
that easy.
Yeah, no messing.
No, maybe that's too easy too. Maybe you should probably inquire a little bit about stuff. But
Yeah.
look, we'll take the easy ones when we get them as well,
Yeah. Well, here, look, like that's because you do what you do and you're good. You're obviously very good at what you do. Like, what do you think makes you different from everybody else?
Look, I don't know, how good or I don't know about that now, but I suppose I okay. There's a few little things. I suppose I'm very lucky now with the lads I've in the band. I suppose I just decided to go hell for leather and just try and get the best quality that I could. So I have a man playing drums with me called Mikey Maher, and Mikey would have played with a lot of the different wedding bands around Cork. Like, he was in Kieran Grammer's band, who Kieran Grammer would have been rated probably one of the busiest wedding bands at one stage. But I know for health reasons, obviously, Kieran had to stop. But Mikey would have played with other different bands as well, Juices Wild and that. But his CV before that would be huge altogether. Mikey used to play, he was in a band, and they were called the Bogus Brothers, but they were huge. They were in England, and they used to play before. Like, Mikey's played in stadiums on before bands like Mikey say had something. I think they were. I must find out this exactly how it all worked. But as far as I know, Mikey's that Mikey and management was the same management who had Tin Lizzy and Gary
Right.
Moore.
Uh-huh.
So Mikey would have been playing before the likes of those bands in front of 70 and 80,000 people. And they used to play, they got residency in, they were playing for all of it, the Formula One parties. So for Eddie Jordan. So he spent most of his time in Monaco playing for all of those.
Uh-huh.
He played for, like, he's done so many things. Like, he's played for, like, some of the core, like, Sharon Core's sister, he played for her wedding. And I remember he said they done that wedding and then they got a load of big weddings out of it. And that's how it ended up being the Eddie Jordan thing. It's just, they were like, he's just done an awful lot of huge gigs.
Yeah.
And Mikey is a rock drummer at heart. His drum kit, like, he bought his drum kit, but he sent it to Germany to get the microphone specifically suited to the
Right.
drum kit. It's just a different level, like, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
when you're doing a rehearsal, like, everything, I suppose, like, all the, like, from talking to the lads, you know, it's amazing what you learn from talking to lads. It's actually less is more. Like, so Mikey's all about holding the groove rather than being up around the toms and the hi hats, because I suppose
Yeah.
that's where you see, when you see fellas up there, it's probably not as, that's not where the quality is coming from, do you know? So
Yeah.
that's Mikey. Then I have Rory, who's playing guitar with me now as well since November. And Rory would have been Rory O'Brien. Would a lot of people would have known him. He was in J90 for like 10 years. And he was with Sparkle then up till recently. And then Rory came on board with me. And Rory would teach in the Academy of Music. So a lot of the young people that would be
From
getting
Clare.
their degree, it's Rory's teaching them. So and then Dave, who plays keyboards with me now, Dave is with me since probably Word Go. Dave then played a lot with the country bands. So Dave would have played a lot in England with the big country bands like Brendan Shine, if anybody's into country. Played with Brendan Shine. And they would have been doing, like, there would have been very few nights where they would have been playing to less than 2,000 people every night.
Reapers.
But Dave is a bit unique. It was more popular long ago, but Dave plays the bass and the keyboards. There's really only 4 or 5 fellas probably doing it at Dave's level nowadays, but a lot of them are in country bands, whereas I'm very lucky, like, Dave can do everything from bloody Uptown Funk to, do you know what I mean? And to be able to get those on a keyboard, it's quite unusual. And I'm always a bit surprised, because I think it's such a good thing to have. It saves us having a bass player. And he can do it to such quality. So we're very lucky. So we've a great band now around me. And if I didn't have the good band, you're kind of going nowhere. Like, so you have to have lads that are dedicated. You just send them something, and when you go to do we just say it's a first dance. When you go down to do that first dance the next night, it will be exactly the same as the original. The lads should just go in and learn it exactly right. It's just, they have such an interest and a level of it.
Well-versed players with loads of experience. Just
And
been there, done
experience.
that, and
Yeah.
just know what's going
100%.
on.
Exactly.
Like, do you have a load of stuff in your back pocket? Like, you just don't do the country. Like, you do all the modern classics, anything you want.
Exactly.
Like,
I would have started out at country, like everything. Like, it's just that the spectrum has gone so wide now. It's gone massive. And I suppose, like, if we're playing, do you know, on the likes of anywhere above in the city, Reardon's or any of these places, like, I suppose if you're out of a night like that, we try and do, like, we'll still put in the likes of your country roads and that kind of stuff, but we're doing everything from, like, Mr. Brightside to Westlife to Oasis to Maniac 2000 to Free From Desire. You know, it's so wide, but, like, and it depends on the wedding as well, Justin. Like, you know, we were down there in the stall doing a wedding recently, and they just wanted all modern stuff, which was fine. I said, that's no problem. Now, I did say to them, all right, like, you know, that you probably will have a few older people that, you know, might like a waltz or whatever, and they probably, you know, and you could see there was a few older people where they do miss that, you know. So, like, I would always say it's completely up to a bride or groom what they want to do, but, you know, I suppose you have to think about your age group too that's there. Do you know what I mean? If you keep it all modern all night, you've given nothing to those people, and at the end of the day, they've probably given you 300 or 400 quid of a wedding present, you know. So I think you need to keep it very general for a wedding. Do you know that kind of way? And I don't mean waltzes all night, but, you know, give them a set of a menu. You know, it's very important.
Get everybody involved. It was always a thing when I'm booking a band and you're back and forth with the bride, and I want, you know, they're saying, oh, we're like this all night long, and you do have to think about the other people there. And the thing, there would be the older generations, the grannies, granddads, older auntie, uncles. They want to get up and have a boogie too, you know.
They do.
So
They do.
it's
Exactly.
nice to get them involved, get them up for a waltz and a bit of a jive. And when I was back playing in the bands, like any time we played a waltz or a jive, everybody was on the floor. Like
Exactly.
this
They're
thing generation gets up, they love it, but sure, all the young ones get up mad at it as well. And it's like, yeah,
100%.
play
Well, I
them.
usually find, when you start off at a wedding and you say, okay, we're going to get the bride and groom out into the middle of the floor and we make a circle around them, like we all say, okay, and the circle is made around the bride and groom and you have your first dance, and then you probably kick into something fast straight away. Everybody will stay on the floor because they have been there since the circle. But then
Uh-huh.
when you finish that set, that's when people sit down, and it's the next set there is probably very important to be a waltz, because the older people will come back out for that waltz. Whereas if you
Yeah,
go straight into something else, it's not always guaranteed that the floor will fill again. Most of them young people will go straight back to the bar, go back drinking, and then they will naturally progress out afterwards. But actually, that after that kind of 15 or the first 15 or 20 minutes, the waltz is very important. I think
yeah,
there anyway.
yeah.
And I don't
Like,
mean to kill it with waltzes. Two waltzes is more than enough, and keep them very generic. Do you know, that kind
yeah,
of ones that everybody knows.
uh-huh.
But
And
yeah, I think you just need to be inclusive for everybody. You have to think of everybody that's at a wedding.
that's the thing, be inclusive for everybody, so it gets everybody involved. You work to the dance floor on the night, and there's a lot of planning goes into all the set lists and stuff. A waltz would give some of them that have been up for a while a break, or they go, I'll go to the bar, do my thing now. It gets another little group on. It's like the planning of a good set list keeps everybody,
It
boogieing
does,
on the dance
100%.
floor, keeps everybody involved. Yeah.
It does. Well, I would always be very conscious of, and I would always ask a bride and groom, like, what's your average age group going to be at a wedding, Because I know we've a wedding now for next year put in, and the girl told me that it's only all her friends are her friends really. She told me she has no aunts and uncles, and her husband has only one uncle. So there's no real older generation, so it's going to be all younger. It'll just be literally their parents, that uncle and his wife, and everybody else is just friends, she said. So she said if we could just keep it. And I said, you know what? Well, in that case, it makes more sense. There's no point doing, a lot of old stuff, because it's going to make more sense. So it's going to be all way more modern at that then. So,
Yeah.
but
And
I kind of fall into a kind of a funny bracket. I really do, actually, probably more so maybe than other bands, because of Crystal Swing and doing so country for so long, I would still get an awful lot of country weddings. Like, we've a wedding now in this year, for Clonmel, and the couple are both in their late 50s. So, but they used to come and see us perform years ago, and they booked me for the wedding. So I know they expected more to be on the older side of things, So you kind of, and like, I know that's going to be an older wedding as well. So I will tailor that to be a bit more suiting to that. But you'll have to be changing it every night. And like, you know this from anything. Going in with a set list doesn't always mean you're going to stick on the set list, because it
yeah,
might not always be suitable. You might have to change in the middle of it and say, no, that's not working. We have to go this way.
yeah.
And
Have you
experience
any
will bring that too.
Have you any other tips or bits of advice for any other brides grooms that might be booking music, like any part of the day? Like, is there anything they should know?
I suppose, well, we have touched on it, but I suppose if they could, I suppose the biggest thing is really trust in it doesn't matter if it's the band, the photographer, the video man, the hotel. Trust those people, especially if they've been doing it with years. You know what I mean? Look, if you've a hotel manager and she says to you, oh, I'm only here 2 weeks, well, maybe then you probably need to have a chat with that person. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? But if you're dealing with somebody that's been in a hotel, or you're dealing with a photographer and they're at it with 20 years, look, even if
you've
they
been there,
go to,
done that.
like, they've been there, done that. If you're doing using a photographer and you're getting married in, Fernhill or Vienna Woods, or, places that are doing a couple of hundred weddings every year, and that photographer is probably down in them places 20 or 30 times in the year, they're going to know exactly the best spots. They're going to know the exact flower that comes out at the exact time, because they're going to
Yeah,
know exactly the places to be. So I would say, put trust in the people that you're booking, that
uh-huh.
they know kind of what they're doing as well. Now, obviously, you need to go through stuff, but, enjoy your day. And actually, I see this as well, and you'll probably agree with me. Sometimes people get very nervous coming up to things, and rightly so, and they ask
Yeah,
probably an awful lot of questions. And on the day, if you told them, oh, look, that the world was going to fall down around them, sure, look, it'll be okay, we'll work around it. I don't know, I think that there's a lot of pressure actually comes off on the day. I think the build up is a lot more harder for people than the actual day itself.
yeah.
But yeah, just I suppose, look, people kind of know what they're doing, and once they're there, and try and book probably somebody that's honest too, or tell you straight out. Like I
Yeah,
would always be of the case of like, if you know if there's something you can't do, you're better off just say it straight away from the word go than saying no, we can do that, and then on the day saying, oh no, actually we weren't able to do that, because just be honest with somebody, and I think honesty is everything really.
definitely.
That's kind of
Yeah,
my motto anyway.
that's a pretty massive one because I know even from doing the bookings, it's like, yeah, and from gigging years myself, it's nice. Like there has been bookings and be like, I'd always ask, is there anything special you want, or is there any this or that, or shout outs or this or that? I remember actually one time getting an email. It was like, "You're the professional. You do your thing." That like it was just, I like you've got it. I was like, you know what,
Yeah, yeah.
nice one.
That's and that
We've
is the
got
way
this
it should
covered.
be. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way it should be.
So and like the thing, it can be hard on a musician sometimes if they want to be too restrictive, is like, don't play this list of 20 songs, make sure and play these 20 songs, and don't do this at this time. And it's like it can get this thing, it can get restrictive. It's like, well, that might not work in the night for your crowd, and it might not involve everybody. It's like, you have to be a bit loosey goosey and trust them, and let your supplier do their thing. Again, they've been there, they know the crack. Just let them at it.
Yeah, 100%. You have to. Yeah, no. Yeah, look, you'll be hoping whoever you're booking for whatever your event is, or whatever
Yeah.
you're doing, that they would have an idea of what they're doing anyway.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
And like for you, have you any budgeting tips for brides or grooms? Like, do you offer different packages? Like, have you got wiggle room?
well, yes, and that was another thing, Justin. I suppose, long ago, you know. People would have had like, minimum a 5-piece band, and there was probably a sound engineer, and there was probably a lighting man, and you just have a heap of people that sometimes, you don't need all that, like,
Yeah,
so I've gone with the approach because, like, I kind of fear in the world, what way the world is going maybe, and how much of a recession or anything could come.
yeah,
So, and like we all can see like the prices of everything. Like, do you know what I mean? It's very hard. I do genuinely mean this. It's very hard on a bride and groom, because I suppose your average bride and groom, they're either renting, or else they're trying to buy a house. They're trying
yeah,
to get married. They probably, look, if they're getting married, the vast majority of people are planning and probably having a family as well. And it's the most expensive time of your life. Like, it's unbelievable. Like, money it's literally just handed out. If you're 10 or 15 years down the line after that, it's not as bad. And yet at that, it's still a hard place to be.
yeah,
I would always, that's why, I have, there's three of us and myself. There's four of us. That's what's
yeah,
there. I have the three from I obviously said the boys' CV a while ago. My aim was to have three of the best that I could find, and I'm
uh,
very, very happy to say that I am so, so happy with my lads. And I know there's other lads as good as my own lads too, but they don't all come available at once. But when I was
yeah,
looking, I went to try and find the three of the best that I could find,
uh-huh,
um, so that we have that quality and that sound of that we can take on any band. And we're
yeah,
very lucky now at this stage, even in the city or everything. We're in all the main venues now, and we have all the main dates,
yeah,
because we're at that level. But it's to keep the package, to keep that small, that you can go to a bride or a groom, that they don't have to pay an absorbent amount of money to get a high quality. And that's my
yeah,
whole aim of it. Like, I don't actually intend on growing it. If a person wants me to bring in another member, if they say, oh, can you add a sax player, or can you add a violin player? Of course we can do it if you want to, but
uh-huh,
is there a need? Probably not, unless you really want to go that extra mile. And if you want to,
uh-huh,
there's no problem. And that happens. We have done it for plenty of weddings where people want the extra. But
yeah,
to the vast majority of things, you don't really need it. And it's so well rehearsed at this stage with the lads,
yeah,
and with the quality it's there. So I try and keep it small. Um, we we do a DJ package, absolutely, if people want to DJ, or some people might have a very, very small wedding, and I'll just turn on Spotify afterwards and put it out over the speakers while
yeah.
we're taking down the equipment and that kind of stuff. So
And
yeah.
would you do like cocktail receptions, day twos, any other little bits and bobs like that as add-ons? Like,
Well, I was doing a lot of them. I will still do, like, maybe if there's a Sunday one or that kind of stuff. But to be honest with you, Justin,
if your
we're
time allows it, like,
if we're time. But I'll just be true and frank, we're actually so busy at weddings now. Like my next year of weddings, especially because every year I suppose it's getting busier and busier. And you know, my next year of weddings, we like our summer months are nearly gone. We've one date left in June. We have two in July. We have two in August, but one of those, the 14th of August, is out at the moment. The lady's coming to see us on Saturday night. We're playing Gary's in Charleville. I'm not sure if this is out by then or not. So we probably will end up with one in August, and I have two left in September. So like it's that busy now. Like it's a case of like I don't really probably have the time to do them. Do you know that kind of way? Maybe a drinks reception might work if we're doing like a wedding in Vienna Woods that night, and the drinks reception is only over in Silver Springs or something. You know, you can work them all in. But I suppose the main focus is the weddings, because that's where that's where all the work is going now at this stage. So
would you be able to do? Let's say you're doing the evening band at night. Like, would you offer the cocktail during the day, a package for the same couple, if there's time? Like,
some people ask about it, and if it works out, we do it. But what I'm finding as well, you see, is like, you know, a lot of the weddings are not just Cork based. I have to see where I am the night before. So if I know we're in Cork the night before and we're in Cork for that wedding the day after, it's fine. But like sometimes, you know, if you're playing above in Galway the night before, you're getting home at 5:30 in the morning. You're having to get back up again the following day to load the van, to be back down at that hotel again for maybe 12:30 or 1 o'clock, because they're coming in at 3 and you're playing. It's a long day, you know. It just And I suppose where I have to be more conscious now is, it was different long ago. I was doing so many gigs, but you were obviously getting home again probably somewhat early enough, whereas now the wedding gigs, they're always later, so you're getting into bed later, you're back up again early in the morning. I have to be just so conscious. My body will keep going. I would work and work all day for you, and I am probably extremely lucky. You know this, and you know this. I have done like years where I've done like 350 and 400 gigs in a year. Like, it's been crazy.
Wild.
And my voice would stay going, you know, and I know a lot of people get trouble with their voice, and I'm very, very lucky that I don't. But now that we're doing the weddings, the nights have gone so much later. I'd be just so conscious that if I was doing somebody's drinks reception and then you're doing the wedding that night, I'd hate to not have the performance up to scratch for the wedding. So I suppose that's what I'm most conscious about. I would work like a dog. I would put it up to anyone when it comes to working. And gigging, it doesn't matter. I would sing and sing and sing, but I'm just so conscious now for a person's wedding that my voice is right. So I suppose if it works out, I'd do them, but I just kind of have to see where we are the night before and what we're doing the night after and that kind of stuff.
And what advice would you give to a couple on actual booking? Like, how far ahead out do you normally get booked? Is it a year, 18 months? Like,
sure, like,
what do you reckon?
You can see now my summer months are nearly gone now at this stage. So I would be saying to somebody, if they're coming to me for a wedding booking, if you're going to your hotel, now this probably makes sense for anything. Most people will go to the wedding venue first. They usually do, right? Don't just get one date off the wedding venue. The wedding venue will have more dates. Ask them, you know, what if they want to go. We'll just say they are going summer months. Ask them, what availability have you for May, June, July, August? Because I suppose anybody that's kind of who's at something for a good while will be booked up quite in advance, and you'll be really, really surprised about, you know how busy bands and everybody, or photographers, how busy they get. And I suppose it's the person with a lot of availability would probably be the ones that aren't maybe out as much. Or I know there is certain probably bands as well where fellas are working during the week and they just do weddings at the weekends. So they might not book up quite as far, which is fair enough, and they could be still of a very high quality, but they just don't book up as far because they're in jobs and they might not know what they're doing next year. But for the average person like any of us who are at stuff full time, you'd want to be coming with 4 or 5 dates. Check my availability. You obviously know the hotel have those dates free. Go to your photographer, go to your videographer, and see who can you get for the most of those dates. And yes, you'll probably have to let one of us down and say, look, it just didn't work out. But I would be saying go to a venue and get as much dates as you can of the availability, because it becomes a very small space, for people. So it's that'd be my biggest advice anyway. Just get a bunch of dates and check everybody's availability.
If you're getting married and looking for the very best wedding venues and suppliers in Ireland, head over to weddings.ie. Here we have a venue finder and supplier finder feature. You can fill in all your information, what you're looking for, and it will recommend you the best wedding venues and suppliers. You can then message them all in one go. They will get back to you with their availability, brochures and pricing. It's a super simple way to find the best wedding venues and suppliers and to make the planning process super simple. So go to weddings.ie and start booking the perfect venues and suppliers for your big day.
What would the advice be on going to see a band or book a band? Like, where would you recommend people go see you, check you out?
I would normally tell a person, like, you know, if they're coming to see us, they could come to see us at a wedding. If they wanted to. Now, some weddings might have, like, we do weddings, you know, some weddings might have 60 people at them, and another wedding could have 300 people at them. So it's a hard one to judge between a 60 wedding. Like, usually people that are having a smaller wedding, where they're having kind of maybe 55, 60 people at a wedding, generally those people are quiet themselves. You know, the bride and groom are kind of quiet. They want a smaller wedding. They don't want the big fuss. So usually that wedding, it can still be a great wedding, but it doesn't have that madness of where you've 350 people at a wedding. We were doing a wedding there recently. They're actually friends of mine, and we done it below in Garyvaux Hotel recently. They had 300 at the wedding. Well, just almost. There was 290 at it. It was. I knew it would be a mad wedding. I knew it from the word go. I said it to the lads. I said, lads, this is going to be a wild wedding, and it was. It did not disappoint. From word go to word end, it was mad. Like, you know,
Yeah.
in a good way now. Like, you know, but. So I would usually say to a person, you know, I would actually, when I'm on the phone to them, I would say to them, look, if you're coming to this wedding, there's 60 people at the wedding. We'll just say, you know, this will probably be a little bit quieter of a wedding because they're having a smaller wedding. They obviously don't want that. So it depends what people want. Again, like, I suppose if you want to see the wild ones or really see us in action, again, like, I would work on adrenaline. So, like, the more people that are in front of me and the more people that are going mad, and this kind of works for all bands. It's not even like, I think everybody, the more people, it's like, it's no more different than a person going playing a hurling match. If you're going to be going playing an All-Ireland final, you're going to be absolutely wild.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of, because the crowd is around you, there's a buzz. It's the very same with a wedding for us as well. I would usually say, if a person wants to see us in full action, go to the big venues. Do you know, that kind of way? And see us in action, or give me a call, and I'll say to you, look, this is going to be a pretty well night. If you want to see the band, really what the band can do, this is the venue you should come and see us in. So that's usually the advice I give to people.
Things I'd always recommend, and I do to any of our couples looking to see our bands, like, to go and see them in the venues. I actually don't sort of do the wedding viewings just for that reason. It's like, sometimes you can go to a wedding, I want the band concentrating on the couple there on the night. I don't want them looking at the back door to see if there's people coming in to see them, like, and play to them. Like, no, we're playing to the dance floor in front of them. You know, there's been stories, like, if you have 10 couples all inquiring, want to come see you, you know, there could be 10, 15 people coming in. Like, that's a lot of extra people standing in the back, which you don't want. I've actually heard stories where, when, like, some people have been coming into view and they've actually come in, sat down, got themselves a drink, and thought they were, you know, started getting up to the dance floor and stuff. It's like, you can't really make that either. So it's like, I always say, look, go and see them in the venue. Just keep in mind they might not be playing all the Walsey stuff, and, you know, they're playing to the venue in front of them, but you'll get a good idea.
100%. Well, I think in general nowadays, anyway, it doesn't seem to be as much the done deal thing that people come to the wedding to stand on the back. It doesn't seem to be. It was long ago. I know. Believe me, I have had couples that have come to see us at the weddings, but normally it seems to be venues people come. But if somebody was coming to somebody's wedding to come and see us, I would always just say to the bride and groom, look, there might be somebody, just a couple coming there. They're going to pop in, stick their head in and just have a look at us. And look, if the bride and groom had an issue with it, I would tell that couple, look, the bride and groom don't actually want anybody. But I've never had that issue. They've always said that's no problem. But it seems to be the you know, the bars or whatever is where, and you still have to do, that's another thing too, like, you know, it's all fine to say, oh, we'll do loads of weddings, but you actually have to do some bars as well, because people have to come and see you, to view you, so you need a bit of both, like, you know.
Yeah. Have you had any mad gigs or mad stories? Like, is there anything recently that's happened that's been wild or stuck out to you?
Look, I always would say the wildest place I have ever played in all my life is in Dunamore. It's just outside, if you know Dunamore, it's just outside Blarney. And it's the wildest venue you'll ever. It's
Really?
the wildest venue. You ask any band that has ever played in Doonamore, in Pat Barry's in Doonamore, and they will tell you it's the wildest venue you will ever play.
Yeah.
No, I used to play there more long ago, but it's the kind of a venue that it has 2 bar counters. It has one where you always have it, say 4 foot off the ground, but they have another one that's 12 foot off the ground. Or maybe not quite 12, maybe you say 8 or 9, whatever, 8 or 9 feet off the ground. So that when the venue gets so full, they go up on each other's shoulders and they can put their points up. And this is no word of a lie. And they can put it up in that second counter, their drinks up in the second
Wow.
counter. And I remember the very, very first time we played there. It was the Carnival Festival there years ago. Pat, the owner, he's a gas man. He's a lovely man. Like, I get on great with him. Like, and I would always have great crack with him. But it was wild. And there was a barrier in front of where you play, and the speakers were left outside the barrier. But sure, all the young gang there was nowhere to go. Like, so they were up on speakers and everything. So anyway, Pat came out behind the bar and I said to him, I said, Pat, look, I said, we were only maybe an hour in at this stage. We had an hour to go, like, so it wasn't that there was 5 or 10 minutes left, like, and they were just got wild. Like, we still had probably an hour to go. And I said to Pat, Pat, look, I said, if you don't do something here, I said, somebody's going to get killed. Like, I said, them speakers have gone down and killed somebody. And my reply was, Derek, sometimes in life, we just have to take chances. And off he went. That was my answer. So that was the answer. So anyway, we learned a lot from then afterwards. Anyway, I would always bring in put the speakers inside the barriers afterwards. Yeah, look, that was the wildest venue, and still is to this day. It has to be beaten. I've seen some of the best drinkers up there as well that they would drink it. I would hear people saying they could drink this or they could drink that. Go up to Doonamore now and see what they can drink up there, and you get a fair awakening. Yeah, so look, there's plenty of stories. We were playing years ago in a venue, I better not name where it was, in East Cork. Anyway, this was with my mother. I'm going back, I was very, very young. I was probably 12 or 13, but I remember it vividly. And we were playing, and it was New Year's Eve. And there was it wasn't actually that busy. It wasn't that busy. And there was a couple sitting down in front of us. And next thing, there was a man came in and he threw a pint glass at the couple. Obviously the drink went everywhere. There was actually a detective who was on his holidays, was there, and he restrained the man that threw the pint glass. But anyway, it turned out that the couple that were there, they were having an affair, and that was the husband of the wife, and he came in. But I've lots of different stories because when you're at something for so long, yeah. When you're at something for so long, we were playing for another party. Oh, I'm going back. I was a bit older now. Well, look, when I was a bit older, I was maybe 16 or so. And we were playing for a birthday party, and there was a again, actually, it was another guard, and there was some fella that he had put away, you could say, but he was drinking at the front bar, and we were playing in the venue. We were playing inside like a function room, and your man had spotted the guard, and he came in, and he had a full-on fisticuff fight with your man inside because he put him away. But look, there's loads of I've loads of stories. I've probably actually seen, surprisingly enough, it's amazing enough, actually, probably in the country music scene, which everyone would probably say, oh, that'd be a very quiet, and I've probably seen more things in that scene than I have ever seen. Or I'd be asking, like, Rory and them there now who'd play, like, Rory now would have only ever really played, say, in wedding bands and that kind of stuff, like, and Rory would be like, God, no, I don't have any stories like that, like, but oh my God, I have plenty of stories, but anyway, so it's
Tell us about, sure, you recently played the 3 Arena, didn't you?
I did, I did,
Tell us a bit about that. Was that big country? Were the 2 Johnnies? What was it? What was the event?
It was with the 2 Johnnies Country Christmas Special. Yeah, exactly. They'd been talking about me for quite a while on their podcast and that kind of stuff. And then they were talking about me one day, and they were like, God, if Derek's listening, get in touch. So I got in touch, obviously, and yeah, ended up above in the Tree Arena with them. So yeah, it was a great one. It's another one to take off the bucket list. I never ever played in the Tree Arena. I suppose down through the years with Crystal Swing, I was lucky enough. I did get to play a lot of the big
Big
festivals
venues.
and
Yeah.
did the big venues. Like I have played in. I've been in. The Board Gosh, the Olympia Theatre many a times, the Concert Hall in Limerick, in Dublin.
Jeepers.
Played electric.
A lot.
I've played Electric Picnic. We're in the big marquee tent. I'm not sure how many people it was, 10 or 15,000. I'm not sure.
Jeepers.
Actually the biggest one I've ever done was Denny Street. When the Rose of Tralee, when she's crowned. I remember one year they said the touch 40,000 people was on the street that year.
Oof.
And we done that a couple of times, but I remember one year they said it touched 40,000. I'm not sure
Jeez.
exactly, but it was somewhere near enough to that. So
Yeah.
but that was a different scale of things. Do you know what I mean? When we were at Crystal Swing and we got to go on, when we were brought over to America, and Ellen DeGeneres brought us to another level, and we got to do some serious big gigs out of it. So, but it was great to do the Tree Arena. I had never ever played in the Tree Arena, and 13,000 people in it.
Oof.
What I found quite probably most amazing is when you'd say like Uggy, Uggy, Uggy inside in the Tree Arena, because I suppose it's an enclosed area.
Yeah, they're all around
When
you.
people would roar back, oi, 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 the place would rumble. Like, that was probably what I took most out of it. That
Brilliant.
feeling of an audience that was so in around you, because if you're playing to an outdoor festival, which we would have done a lot of them, where there would have been 10 or 15,000, like, you don't get that rumble because it's
Yeah.
outside,
Yeah.
But that was very, very captivated. And because music has been brilliant to me. We got to support Bonnie Tyler. I performed with Lily Allen on stage. Obviously Ellen DeGeneres. I've met some of the biggest acts. I've got to do an awful lot of things out of music.
Jeepers. Been good to you.
And the thing about it is, I'd still be as happy playing to 20 people in a pub as if I was playing to, and it's always been that way for me. I've never, I done the Tree Arena, like when I came off the stage, the Tree Arena that night, and my wife was there. I was like, Claire, I was like, I was up there now, and I was like, it's unbelievable to get those gigs, but sometimes I feel maybe things like that are a little bit wasted on me, because I'd be still as happy playing the following night below in a bar for 20 or 30 people, and I've always been that way. Sometimes I actually probably even prefer it. I don't know. It's just the way I am. It's when Crystal Swing started to quieten up, I had a few options of going the country music option route. There was a few managers had got on to me about it. But I just said no. I said no, it's just not.
Yeah.
Just not for me. I
Yeah.
just like being my own boss, and I love the weddings. I actually genuinely love the weddings, because what I like about them is you have an audience there. You have a different audience every night you go back. The majority of the time people are out, they actually want to be there and they want to enjoy the night, and you move on, and yet you finish and you take down the gear and you come home, and that's the most important thing to me. I love to come home. I really, really do. I love to get home. I hate the staying away. It was never a thing, because long ago it was different. Now we might have been doing something. We could be in Galway tonight, we could be in Donegal tomorrow night, and we could be in Belfast the night after. So you were away for 3 or 4 nights every week, staying away. I just never ever got any kick out of that. And some people would love it, they'd love to be away. I know Mikey, who drums with me, if I said to Mikey, we're going touring the world, we're going away now for the next 2 months, he would be in the plane faster than any of us, and that's a great, but I love playing music, but I'd be happy out if I was 5 minutes down the road. Once I could come home at night, that's my biggest thing.
Definitely.
I love to get home.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Here, so tell us, where do people find out about you? Where can they check you out? How do they get in touch?
Instagram, Facebook, or email derekburkemusic@gmail.com is my main places. And look, I'm still doing, I would be saying, before now, I would have been out every, middle of the week and everything. I would have been out every night of the week. Not so much out now middle of the week, because we're just so busy at the weekends now. I spend a lot of time now emailing. There's an admin thing to it now as well. Now, see, you now have 3 men working for you, so you have bills to pay, invoices. It's a different
Yeah.
It's a different kind of kettle of a fish, do you know, that kind of way. So
It's not
whereas
all fun.
before, no, it's not. Yeah. There is more. Yeah, it's not just all about playing music and that kind of stuff. So, but saying that, I would be saying to people, I'm after cutting back. You'll still probably find me in at least 3 bars every week, and we'll still end up doing, 2 or 3. There's still weddings in the middle of that as well. I would be doing an awful lot of double gigs, and we'd have a lot of early gigs. And for the summer, we're in a lot of festivals and that kind of stuff now as well, where we'll be on early somewhere and we'd be on something else that night. So look, we're out every week, Justin. And people, if they want to come and see us, I have places or weddings or something for them to come and see us every week. There's no problem that way. But sometimes as well, maybe people might say they might be nothing up on Facebook of a week, but just send me a message, because we might be doing weddings or private functions that you're not advertising, So we're out all the time, and come and see us. And look, we have a great show, and as I said, I'm very lucky with the lads. And the other good thing is we probably don't cost a fortune, because it's just 4 of us, but it's 4 at the at the high quality, and that's where we're going to keep it now. Because just even I have noticed, actually, I don't know if you noticed this. A couple of years ago, people definitely booked their weddings much more further in advance, where there was like, whereas now it seems to be, the window seems to be getting shorter. Again, I don't know, like even there when we were above at Wedfest with you in January, there was some amount of people still only looking at their weddings for 2026, which really, really surprised me, because a couple of years ago, that was much further out, where people were, like, normally I would be expecting now, if you were at this time, but now everything's an avalanche of 2027. It's all 2027. 2028 is there, but it's dribbling and drabbling in. But it's just seems to be after getting, that funnel seems to be after getting a little bit tighter. And I do see people definitely, because obviously, like, as wedding bands, it's not that we don't talk to each other. Like, a lot of us actually get on, and I have been talking, like, there was one particular bride, I won't mention her name now, but anyway, when I was going to just send out, different bands that were available for the date, it turned out that everybody had got the same email from the same bride, but people are definitely pricing around as well. 100% price is starting to come a little bit more into it, whereas maybe 2 or 3 years ago, if a person wanted to book a band, they booked it, whereas now I do think, yes, they might want the band, but I do think price is a little bit of an issue too. So because things are just gone so expensive, like, it's just, it's off the wall, that kind of way. So so we try and keep it just small, that we're not charging a fortune for what we do.
Yeah, and there's the education as well. Like, not everybody. I know we look at it because we're in the music game, but a lot of brides and grooms, they don't know anything about the music game. Like, they're just
100%.
they need educated. So this is why they need to. There's a new play at Wedfest. It's like, it's good for them to go there. They get to see everything, because they don't know anything. They're starting from zero. They've never done this before. So it's good to go
100%.
there and get to see it all in one go. Get all the information. Get educated.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, absolutely. And the likes of Wedfest and that there, where you have everybody in the one room together, you can really, and there's nothing like actually meeting somebody face to face. Emails are fine, or even a phone call, but when you actually meet somebody face to face, you really actually, that's where you can really talk. You get a person's expression. You know, like, it's all well and good. Sure, I could tell somebody anything on a phone, but you can't see my expression. And an expression is an awful big thing too. Do you know that kind of? Now, I would actually genuinely be a person that would always just try and tell somebody the honest truth of it. Like, there was one bride there came to me before, and she wanted a set list that just wasn't. It wasn't me. Do you know that kind of way?
Yeah.
It was like, there was like R&B stuff and that in it. Like, and she's like, I'm not, like, whatever about doing modern stuff and that kind of stuff. Like, I've got my, like, people that come to see us and read that kind of stuff now. Like, I've always loved the likes of, Maniac 2000, Freed from Desire. I've always loved those songs, because they actually kind of probably taper into a bit of the rock and roll stuff, because it has that drive of rock and roll.
Yeah.
Whereas something like R&B and that now, that's a different kind of that's a different genre that I would know nothing about, And I just said to the bride, because she was asking me, she had seen us, and she was like, I'd love to book the band, but and she sent on a big set list of different songs, and I was like, look, I've no problem in learning some songs, like, for a wedding, but I was like, that's basically a whole set list. And I was like, look, I really would feel, if that's the kind of way you want to go with your wedding, I wouldn't be the band for that. I would just tell somebody straight out, because there's no point lying to somebody either.
Yeah.
Or telling them that I was going to go and learn it, and on the night do a totally different set list. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's just, you have to be truthful with people, and just be honest, and I'd be always just very particular about having things right. Like every night we travel to a wedding, I have 3 mixers in the van, 3 mixing boards. For anyone that knows any little thing about music, whatever
Always
about
like a
a band,
spare.
if that mixer is not right, oh my God. So
Yeah.
I travel with 3 because if we have one and we have to go to the other one, I'd still like to have a backup of another one as well. So
Yeah,
every night
yeah.
with 3 mixers. We're never really stuck for speakers because you know this, you floor monitors and that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
I do actually keep a carbon copy of the 2 speakers I have in the van, so that I don't actually even have to go to a monitor, that we can go up. Like, we have everything from microphone stands to leads to microphones. We have spares of everything because like anything, sometimes they're like,
Breaks.
it doesn't, if it breaks down, you just don't even want to be thinking about that on the night of a wedding. You go out, you get the spare, and you look at it the following day when you have time. But like, spares are so important because, touch wood, I have never ever done a gig that I haven't, been able to fulfill, like, because we have so many spares. I have been very, very lucky. We haven't had any major issues, but years ago, I was only doing a one-man band gig. But look, I would look at a one-man band gig as being as important as a full band gig. I carry a spare of everything. I've double, I've triple of everything inside in the van. But I was doing a gig years ago, down in Clashmore. Actually, there's a venue down there called Mayor O'Rourke's, and I was about 40 minutes in. I was only on my own. I was doing a slow song, and next thing, there was just a bang. Actually, all that happened in the end was the fuse had actually only just blown on the cable going into the mixer. The mixer went away again for a grand for years afterwards, but that fuse went. But like, when you're in the middle of something, you haven't time to go and checking what's wrong, like,
No, it needs
But
to be
I had
done
a
quick.
carbon copy, and another thing I do as well is everything I have as a spare is exactly a carbon copy of what I have out on the gig, because you can't be going messing with leads or anything. You just need to be able to bring in something, throw it up, put in the leads that were already in that original equipment piece, and be up and going again. So I would be a stickler for that, and I try and keep all my gear within 5 years old if I can, or else get stuff reconditioned, because it just, I'd be very particular about that. It's just so important.
That's down to experience. Being on the
Oh,
road, dealing with things like that.
yeah.
Like, this is the thing. Some people, we've been out at gigs and things happen that are wild. If you were told, oh, that had broken down 3 minutes before the gig started, and this happened and that happened, but
Yeah.
them on the dance floor don't have a clue. They
don't have a clue. No. Once you can get back up and going,
100%. But the madness that was going on to get it working.
100%.
Again,
We
down
were
to
actually,
experience, having good team members, that can just
experience.
fix it and work on the bounce.
Work on it. Yeah, we were doing a gig there. I was just before Christmas, and one side of the amp went down. Now, luckily enough, I literally, all I had to do was take the lead out of you can actually run on the amp. You can run, like, we'd be running normally just one set of speakers, but it has the option for running 2 sets. And all I had to do was literally plug one link out and plug it into the other side of the amp. And I just drove them off to one side of the amp. Now, I was never going to be stuck. I had another spare amp inside in the van. I had 2 mixers in the van so the amps I was using were 2,600 watts, but I had 2 more. So I had another 2,600 watt in the van spare, but I also had 2 more mixers in the van that were both 2,000 watts. So in actual fact, I had 4 amps on the night if I needed to, and every one of them can be doubled up as well. Like, it has to be, if you're doing somebody's wedding, you have to have a spare. You just genuinely have to have a spare.
Yeah.
Like, and I'll tell you another thing, Justin. I have a van, which I bought new only a year and a half ago, because again, I want to make sure that I can get to a wedding venue. But just because it's new doesn't mean it can't break down. Anybody can get a diesel shock, or anything can happen. It doesn't have to. It could only be out of the box, and it could give trouble. But I try and keep everything newish if I can, because I'm just so particular about that we get to the place on time. But I also, it must happen. But I also have a box trailer in the shed that's always empty at any one time, so that if we get broken down, my wife, her parents only live 10 minutes away. Her brother has a Jeep and her father has a Jeep. We can literally go get that Jeep. If I had to ring my wife and say, Claire, you have to get to me. I'm broken down here. We need to get the gear to, we're just broken down. I can get that that trailer can be pulled out at an instance, or else our parents have 2 horse boxes. We can put it
Yeah.
into the horse box if we have to. But you kind of, if you're to be just thinking about these things when it happens on the day, that's no good.
Yeah.
It's even like the spare wheel of the van. Like, I have a big bar with a 19mm socket at the end of it in my van at any time, that if we get a puncture, I can just run, get that bar, open off the wheel nuts in 2 seconds. I have full box of sockets with me. I've every tool. Like, I would literally, I could, like, and I'm not unbelievable at mechanicking by any means, but I'd be able to sort the diesel choke or something.
Yeah.
I'd be good enough, because I'm always around machinery and that kind of stuff. But at any one time, I just think it's so important that you have backups. You have to have a backup plan, like, because especially for a wedding, oh my God, of all things, you have to get there. Like,
The gig must go on, and it will.
It does. Exactly. Exactly. But anyway, touch wood. We haven't had any hair raising things like that amp and that there now. Like, when one side of it, look, I didn't even run a bead of sweat. I knew I was able to plug into the side, or I had the spare on the van, and it's just great. Whereas if you don't have the spare, well, then obviously you're in trouble then. But you have to have spares, and that's just it.
I tell you what, one that happened for my own wedding. We had Sparkle playing for us, and first dance, the power in the hotel cut out halfway through, and like, you could see some from the band were like, "Oh, what's going on?" I didn't care. I knew the crack was good. There was still a drum beat going on. Everybody was singing, but like, it cut off. The generator obviously came on. The power went back on again. After 30-40 seconds, no one noticed. I noticed.
Yeah, of course.
Because I'm a musician, and a couple of the music lads, they noticed, but no one else did. Like,
no one else did. Yeah. Well, would you believe this, Justin, right? And I bought it about 2 years ago. Now, I don't bring it in the van every night with me because it's too big, but I actually bought a generator, and it's a huge one. It's an 8,000 kilowatt generator. And I have that in the shed, right? Now, I have used it at festivals, so it's an option I can give to a festival committee, that I actually have my own generator if they want to hire it in.
Yeah.
But I have that generator so that, we'll just say that there was a huge, like, you saw it happened up the west, got it bad there a couple of years ago, where there was no power for maybe 2 weeks. That kind of and like, a lot of venues don't have their own generators, but I can actually come with my own generator and have that up and going. I am that particular about it. Because I feel, if we're booked for a wedding, we have to provide a service that we have to be able to do that wedding. And I have that generator. I bought it 2 years ago. I have it below on the shed. I started every maybe 4 or 5 months just to make sure it's going. Now, over the summertime, we would always use it here and there for a few festivals. But yeah, I bought that generator purposely, actually, more so that if there was an issue, that if anything ever happened, that there was no power for a couple of weeks, that, there was a major storm now, or that there was some big massive outage or something, which happened. It happened up. I remember it happened a couple of years ago up like Mayo, Galway, Sligo, all that area, and there was people there didn't have power for 3 or 4 weeks. Well, I have, and at any one time, that tank is full blown. There's a is it 15 or 16 litre tank in it, and I have a 20 litre drum at all times full with petrol as well. So I will, if I tell you I'll be there for your wedding, I will be there. Yeah. I even have a tractor to get to it if we need to. So, like, there's no problems. Yeah.
Unbelievable, Derek. Right here, we'll cut it up there. Thanks very much. That was great.
No, thank you.
Just let them know again where to check you out. Facebook, Instagram, what all have you got?
Facebook, Instagram, Derek Burke Music at gmail.com. Or look, you go on to, or send me, it doesn't matter, they can send me a message, a messenger, Instagram, whatever, or give me a call. And look, we're playing everywhere. I suppose predominantly we're probably around the Cork area, but we're now, for the from September on, we are moving into a venue in Tipperary. We play down in Killarney, down in the Killarney Grand, and the plan is to start moving it out to next year. We have a venue in Galway that's going to be taking us, one of the bigger venues in Galway, and we're just going to move it around. I'm in discussions with somebody as well at the moment for Tullamore. So we're just going to try and move it around, because like everything too, you can burn yourself out in one area as well. Do you know, that kind of way? So so that's where you'll catch me now.
You'll be coming to the next Wedfest, will you?
Oh, I'll be at the next Wetfest. I sure will.
Brilliant.
I sure will.
Sure.
Yeah, I sure
Yeah.
will. Yeah,
We'll make
I sure will. Yeah,
we'll make sure
absolutely.
now.
We look forward to it. We look forward. Come here,
Plenty of crack
Justin,
at that.
Katrina, and all of you. Thanks very much, everyone in Wedfest. Our weddings.
Brilliant.
It's a pleasure as always.
Classed up, Derek. Here, sure. Nice one, and we'll catch up soon. We'll maybe do a round 2 on the podcast soon.
Absolutely love that.
Thanks very much for watching the episode. Hope you enjoyed it. YouTube is going to recommend another one for you to watch right here. Check it out and leave any comments below. We'd love to hear from you.